Despite what we might think, we're all kind of the same. One of the most common ways we're similar is that we all think that we're being watched or looked at by others. We're all somewhat aware of the impressions we make on people, and such, the way we behave, talk, dress, and even walk might be governed by this incessant thought of others looking at us. This never-ending thought in our head is what is called the spotlight effect. But before we dig into this cognitive bias, subscribe to the channel so we can continue to feed you nuggets of gold to boost brain and behavior. So, the spotlight effect is simply our tendency to believe that we are being observed and evaluated by others to a greater extent than we actually are. We are constantly self-conscious of our behaviors and appearance. The term itself was coined by Thomas Gilovich, a prominent social psychologist, and his colleagues in a seminal paper published in 2000. The key study by Gilovich looked at the effect in relation to social judgment. In the research, they got participants to wear t-shirts and embarrassing images, and would then get these participants to estimate how many people would notice and recognize them. They found that participants consistently overestimated the number of people who noticed and recognized their t-shirt image. While there were definitely people that did take notice, compared to their estimations, the reality was that not a lot of really people cared. Many of the participants overestimated the amount of attention they received from others. Another study in 2004 observed the spotlight effect specific to age. They found that unsurprisingly, older adults experience the spotlight effect to a lesser degree compared to younger ones. These results suggest that increased self-awareness and confidence gained with age can mitigate the impact of the spotlight effect. Older adults are more likely to recognize that others are less focused on their behavior and appearance than they initially believed. There are plenty of examples of the spotlight effect in our day-to-day lives. We often let this effect get to us in the context of public speaking. When we're tasked to give a presentation or speech, we feel like all eyes are on us, with every word we say and every move we make being studied closely under a microscope. The reality, however, is that the audience, while they may be paying attention to us, is in fact focusing on other things, like the context of the talk or trying to connect what is being said to their own lives. So less attention, as a byproduct, may actually be made to all these nitty-gritty nuances of our own presentation, since at the end, everyone's just thinking about themselves. Another example we see of the spotlight effect is our fashion choices. People may think that what we're wearing matters, concerned with how others will judge them, but just as seen in the study talked about earlier, people don't really care. Our estimations are not really the case. In reality, others are often also preoccupied with their own appearance and concerns to pay detailed attention to someone else's outfit. So, what are the causes of spotlight effect? Well, there are several reasons for this. For one, we're all self-conscious to some degree. The self-consciousness makes us believe that the flaws we have are more highlighted and emphasized than they truly are. We care and notice this, so we think others will as well. Then there's the added aspect of the egocentric bias at play. This is our natural tendencies to see the world from our perspective. So this egocentric perspective causes us to overestimate how much other people share our focus and attention. Then, as stated earlier, a lot of the time we're lacking awareness of others because we're so focused on ourselves. We're thinking about how we look, how we dress, how we talk, so much so that we forget the others are probably thinking the same way. This bias is worth noting because it shows us the revealing truth that in reality, all the self-conscious thoughts we have about ourselves are just within ourselves. Being aware of the spotlight effect can help reduce social anxiety as we realize that others are likely to pay less attention to our actions and appearance than we think. This change in how we think can give an added boost in self-confidence. Acknowledging that we don't always hold the spotlight allows us to be liberated and just be how we are. All the flaws we think are spotlighted are just in our heads. And this feeling in itself may prevent us from acting out on certain ways or taking opportunities due to the fear of being judged. But by mitigating this feeling and knowing that the spotlight really isn't on us, we can just steadily live our life as is. So now knowing about the bias is one thing, but taking action based on it is another. You need to constantly remind yourself that people are generally focused on their own lives and concerns, rather than closely observing your every move. Anytime you feel a sense of self-consciousness, know that it is in your head. Others probably are not thinking about you. and learn to develop self-acceptance. One of the main reasons why older adults show less spotlight effect as they age, as talked about in the earlier study, is that they realize, whether consciously or not, that all of these thoughts that others are looking and paying attention to you don't really matter. Develop self-acceptance and accept imperfections and insecurities, as everyone has them, and they're most likely much less noticeable than you actually think they are. And finally, learn to practice empathy and realize that you're not really being paid attention to, as I mentioned earlier. Redirect your attention away from self-conscious thoughts by actively engaging with others and just showing genuine interest in their lives. Going out of your way to compliment another person might make their day significantly better. The spotlight effect is a great reminder to step out of our ego and see the world more externally at times. A shift in perspective can do wonders by freeing ourselves from the imaginary gaze of others, allowing us to live more authentically and more confidently. Despite what we might think, the spotlight is not hovering over us. Everyone else is just thinking the same. And just like everyone, you, at the end of the day, are just living in your own world. And by knowing this, you can step out of your own ego and try to pay attention more to the world that's happening around you. If you enjoy videos like this, click the right, as we have a whole list of cognitive biases we talk about that play tricks on your brain. And make sure to subscribe to the channel so we can continue to help you mind the golden mind.